Alfred Vogel was the Swiss pioneer of natural health. Throughout his life, he championed the use of natural remedies in healthcare, and this has contributed to increased recognition of the distinct role herbal medicines can play in the modern world we live in. The long walk to natural health and natural wellness as well as natural healing is beginning to bear fruits. Alfred Vogel all his life suffered abuse and still suffers abuse. Of course, we know anything and anyone that critique the almighty modern medicine and modern medical doctors is subject to abuse by the dominating false dogma and dangerous propaganda that say only modern medicine and modern medical doctors can heal. Albert Vogel dedicated his life to a path of saving the world from madness. He set himself in a course and path that set him at war with the mainstream dominant narrative that will tell you, only modern medicine, only modern medical doctors should be consulted with regards to healing. We are still battling that madness even today. How come can people deny the obvious that herbs, naturopathy, homeopathy, natural health and natural wellness as well as natural healing are the primary stuff of the history of humanity from the dawn of history at the Stone Age period? Natural medicine in the form of herbalism and homeopathy has made us evolve and adapt to harsh conditions. We are who we are because of that, not because of the glamorous propagandist modern medicine. Modern medical doctors have lobbied so hard through their powerful associations to the point that if you feel a minor irritation you are told to visit your doctor. In his great book The Hidden Persuaders, Vance Packard made deep research about how modern medical doctors employ psychologists to deploy deep deceptive communication to control like cattle the masses. This being the life story of Albert Vogel, we begin first with a foreword to the second edition to The Nature Doctor, his great book that has sold over 5 million covers across the world. The foreword is written by Alfred Vogel's student Jan de Vries. He begins, "Whilst thinking of the new edition of The Nature Doctor, my mind went back to a wintry, snowy morning on the 2nd of January 1958. That day I had a business meeting with Alfred Vogel. I had met him the previous August in Amsterdam, where we both attended a lecture on homeopathy. When I set out to meet him on that particular morning, I was quite nervous because I knew that my life was in for a very big change. Not long after the meeting started, however, my nerves and anxieties vanished because I knew that, with this man, I would be completely on the same wavelength and that nothing could stop me from working with him. He had this great ability of putting people's minds at ease. The enormous energy that beamed out of him was so tangible that I was very grateful for the opportunity to begin working with him. My first task was to introduce the Nature Doctor to the Dutch market, and with the help of my colleagues this was successfully achieved. Everybody wanted a copy of the Nature Doctor in their homes. It was then not so well known, but it soon increased in popularity, and it is now no surprise that over 2.5 million copies of this excellent book have been sold worldwide. Alfred Vogel was, in my eyes, a genius. He had an enormous gift and, wherever he went, he always had an audience. Since the day we decided to work together I enjoyed the privilege of sharing our ideas. He was my most influential teacher. We lectured together, we pioneered together, and it is no surprise that audiences throughout the world were attracted to Vogel, as he was a fountain of knowledge. He was so widely read, and had such a wide knowledge about everything, that he could easily convince the critics and skeptics of the great work that he was doing. It is a privilege to write the foreword for this book, as many patients have told me that reading The Nature Doctor is like having Vogel sitting beside them, talking. Students loved him, indeed almost worshipped him, for his great philosophies. I remember with fondness the last journey we ever made together, into the Jura Mountains in Switzerland in the company of Professor Geers from Fineland and a number of students. We all benefited from the value of his teaching on that trip. Probably the best times of my life were when I was alone with him in the Alps. We often stayed overnight in the mountains and studied until late at night the signatures and characteristics of plants and herbs that were so dear to us, being part of nature. One of his best-known phrases is clearly illustrated in this book: "In nature, everything is in harmony." I trust that this new edition, which is a testament of his life's work, will find a very welcome place in every household. It is still one of the best books ever written on herbal, homeopathic and naturopathic medicine, and it is with great respect to the author that I dedicate this foreword. Albert Vogel became captivated by the infinite variety of plants and their medicinal properties when he was still a child. The fascination remained, becoming an integral part of his life, and it influenced everything he undertook. Alfred Vogel rediscovered the healing power of nature, and using this age-old knowledge, he developed modern natural remedies for many complaints. As a young child, nature with all its diversity of plants and animals impressed and inspired me, and my thirst for knowledge led me through field, wood, and meadow. My father informed me, with grandmother's wisdom, of the many beautiful things in the entire universe which is so varied and mysterious. I discovered very early on that plants have healing properties. I would never have dreamt at the time that my experiences as a youngster with medicinal plants would have such consequences and prove their worth in my later, professional life. His thirst for knowledge took him to numerous countries throughout the world where he absorbed traditional knowledge from the people he encountered. He felt a particular bond with primitive tribes. The way they used natural resources presented Alfred Vogel with a new challenge: to study the connection between nutrition, lifestyle, constitution, and illness. Discoveries in Africa, Asia, North, South and Central America and among peoples of the prairies and tropical forests showed the tireless traveler that the skillful management and support of nature can do more than the alleged skills of human beings. Albert Vogel steeped himself in the healing methods of various primitive races and discovered a whole host of medicinal plants. The plants were always my faithful companions and are counted among my best friends, for they have never disappointed me nor let me down, even in life-changing situations. On more than one occasion, and especially in tropical countries, plants have saved my life. How glad I was then that their wonderful healing properties were known to me. By late 1930s, Alfred Vogel had begun to use this plant medicinal knowledge both to help the sick and the healthy at his clinic in Teufen in the Swiss region of Appenzell. Here he grew medicinal plants for his patients using the organic principles he knew so well. Herbs were processed immediately after harvesting on the simple logic that this was the best way of capturing the energy and essence of the plants, making them more effective. Today, science has shown us that fresh herb tinctures contain higher levels of active ingredients and are more stable than equivalent preparations made from dried herbs. To give credit where credit's due, I must strongly emphasize that we have the Creator to thank for all these wonderful healing powers. And all those who have taken the love of His plants into their hearts, He also gave the strength and perseverance to discover these healing powers and to put them to good use in helping our fellow men. Anyone who has made or makes medicinal discoveries with plants and produces herbal remedies should thank the Creator for these delightful gifts which, when used correctly, can work wonders. True to His principles, He made His knowledge public in countless lectures worldwide. He related his experiences and discoveries in a monthly magazine, A Vogel's Gesundheitsnachrichten, and he wrote a number of books, the best known of which is The Nature Doctor, which was published for the first time in 1952 and has been translated into 12 languages worldwide. I little realized as a small child the firm foundations on which my life was being built, eating my mother's wonderful vegetable soup or the honey from the beehives my father tended at the bottom of the garden, running across the flower meadows in the good fresh air, staining my mouth black with the juice of blackberries gathered from hedges, collecting eggs from under hens nestled in their barns and using dock leaves to alleviate the sting of nettles I carelessly brushed against whilst trying to catch a glimpse of a deer or a squirrel. We lived in harmony with nature without realizing that we were doing anything unusual. But then in the 1950s in a Scottish village it was not unusual. It is only now, looking back, that it seems so different from the life that I see today's children leading. Today too few people see nature as a healer and provider, rather as something to use and abuse. In 1984 another naturopath, looking at the havoc a machine had wreaked on my right arm, told me that what it took a machine half a minute to destroy, Mother Nature might take 5 years to repair, but repair it she would. And so it proved. Over the intervening years his holistic care of me as a person, coupled with acupuncture and herbal remedies, have turned a completely paralyzed and agonizing limb into a living, usable arm. Neither my naturopath, Jan de Vries, nor his friend and mentor Alfred Vogel, are miracle workers, but their holistic approach is well worth considering and embracing. Alfred Vogel wrote The Nature Doctor over many years, based on traditional wisdom from all over the world and his experience treating people, many of whom had tried other forms of treatment in vain. During his lifetime, he revised and updated the content as he felt appropriate, but the basic principles on which his life, remedies and treatments were based in his belief that the Creator had provided all the tools that the naturopath needed, remained paramount. Catherine Lang posted in History of Healing edit The Power of Calm and Simplicity from Birds Down Deep in the Forests of Korea. Totally remove depression and stress in your life, posted on February 9, 2023. I am very much concerned about the deplorable state people have fallen into, where depression and stress are a way of life. Never before through all the streams of history people have sunk so low. Reason we have such suffering and cry for mental health is because people have flagrantly departed from nature. Nature heals because it calms the mind. Nature has the power to have your mind at rest. Surrounding your mind with nature bombs the cacophony of disparaging desperate noises of despair inside you. The good book tells us that two people cannot live together if they do not agree. When you are suffering from depression, worry and despair, when adversity and tragedy has befallen you, when you are in pain and in torment, just surround or bath yourself with sweet calming variety of nature melodies. This is a scientific statement. What will happen is that there cannot be two opposites living together. Nature melodies is their varieties as naturally calming. And those thoughts of despair giving depression, stress and sickness or torment will be swallowed instantly or will melt away over some time. We are beginning to roll back to nature to get connection to authentic healing. For so long we have departed from this path to embrace all the honking attraction the city life gives. I have set up this website as global platform to arouse the slumbering public conscience back to nature and back to our origin. We are during in the very darkest age in terms of mental health degradation. It is truly saddening to contemplate the awful conditions which prevails. Every light of inner peace had been extinguished. Every light of sound mind has been hushed. Depression, suffering and torment has obtained complete mastery of the situation. Jean-Jacques Rousseau was a great philosopher who sparked a movement during the 18th century. The movement was to be called the Romantics. Romanticism as a movement is broad. But here I am interesting in that one strand that Rousseau pursued of the return to nature. Natural life, argued Rousseau, is enchanting. Look at the flower plant. It is simple and it is calm. It is also gentle. And it is at peace with itself. Yet out of that simplicity lies power to transform that flower plant in the most beautiful thing in the world. Listen to the birds in their calm stature emitting waves of gentle calming melodies that are so powerful that they strangle the pain of depression, anxiety and worry out of you and you arrive at the state of clear. You are healed and you find yourself experiencing deeper calm that flushed around your body and the environment around, giving you the tranquility of daily peace. There is power in nature. These variety of bird melodies you will hear have been recorded live and raw from the rustic village of Korea, Naganupcheong. Naganupcheong is very much ancient village and has the characters of Stone Age. The village is spectacular and enchanting in character. It lies along the valley, along the rolling hills. The people of Naganupcheong along these rolling hills and valleys, their character reflects the nature of their environment. They are rough, rustic and rugged, solemn and stern, dwelling in dull villages and subsists by keeping flocks of sheep. They are hardened by an open-air life, dressed in simple attire. They possesses sinewy strength which enabled them to endure great physical strain. I thought I should talk a bit about the people and not just pass them over and get to their environments. This raw recording contains a diversity of natural melodies from the beautiful birds of Naganupcheong. It is sheer natural music full of delights and it calms and heals. Posted in History of Healing edit the Philosophy of Natural Health and Wellness as well as Natural Healing posted on February 8, 2023. Plato said that philosophy is the child of wonder. Philosophy means wisdom for living well. The concept of wellness can only be achieved through wisdom. Wisdom is knowledge as reduced to practice. Cicero said that Socrates wrestled with philosophy from the gods and gave it to us. Plato was the student Socrates. Plato said, let us make good society. Good society makes good men and good men leads good lives. How do you make a good society? It is by wrestling with philosophy and distilling it to everyday life. The transformation of philosophy to live is knowledge. And knowledge Saint Hughes applied as wisdom. What is wisdom? Wisdom is to have right judgment. It is about choice. Every human being is given the power of choice. To choose well requires wisdom. Plato further said that philosophy is the child of wonder. You get knowledge by wondering. You get knowledge by questioning and coming up with answers. It is through observations and intuition. If someone tells you that it is wrong to adopt herbs for healing, then you have to question that. What motivates that person? The use of herbs by individual people for healing is part of the history of human beings since the dawn of history. At the heart of our evolution and history lies the concept of self-care. Self-care is the caring of your body to maintain its health and its wellness. The history we have is that practice up to the individual person, and that knowledge was shared among the pain community. The notion of outsourcing of maintenance of health and wellness to doctors is recent. In order to practice health and wellness, human beings have always resorted to the application of herbs. The practice of using herbs for the maintenance of health and wellness is called herbalism. And by as it happens, there were individuals who had experience and skill to help others in the effective application of herbs for the maintenance of health and wellness. And those individuals rising up in skill and experience in the application of herbs were called herbalists. The first doctors were herbalists. If you want to trace the history of doctors, the original doctors were herbalists practicing herbalism, which is about the application of herbs for maintenance of sound health and wellness. That is our history, and that is our evolution. And through centuries and millennia we have been served well. Remember, the notion of modern medicine is just recent in the 1800s and was to be the norm in the 20th century. Before the 1800s we had doctors who were steeped in herbalism. Back to the beginning of our history, from the Stone Age era, it has been so. Life is about survival, and human beings have survived, and here we are, 8 billion of us. Herbs, herbalism and herbalists contributed far more to our survival